cook rice or have scriptures ready with us. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Shamji. Thank you, Hari, for a wonderful session. Very warm welcome. Good morning, good evening to all of you. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. We'll continue our discussion from yesterday, where we spoke about the importance of Bhagavad Gita, and we'll go a little deeper into that as well, as to what is it that we stand to gain. And then with regards to acquiring knowledge, why is it important to repose our faith in this wonderful scripture? So let's get started. I picked up shloka. I have taken a jump, although technically we are on chapter 4. We are doing a recap of getting started with Bhagavad Gita, why it is important. And I picked up a shloka which is very, very relevant, and you'll be able to appreciate it as well. So let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Let me share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Hindbhai. We can see your screen.
Okay, great. Okay, let's get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Right, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again, all of you. Let's get started. So I picked up the shloka from chapter 10, verse 10. We will continue with our journey from chapter 4 in sequence, but this is a very important shloka in context of what we are going to discuss today. I'm going to recite it, and you are welcome to follow along, the volunteers. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. All right. Do we have any volunteers who want to?
We have some people.
Beautiful shloka.
Samji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Samji. We'll pick up a few participants and then we'll.
One thing I will ask you first: how do you relate these shlokas to the topics you do that? It's a very interesting job, interesting thing to do. And I guess it's just God's grace to you that you have the perfect mapping of all the topics you have.
Yeah, it's God's grace for sure. That's all I can tell you. Yeah, these are some shlokas which are close to my heart, because when I was studying or going through Bhagavad Gita, these were some of the ones which I have thought a lot about, because when God is saying some of these things, not that other shlokas are any less, but some of them are really, really, they just really hit you. And because we are reading Bhagavad Gita, it's very important to understand that this is not an ordinary scripture that we are reading. Yesterday we spoke, right? This is not a static knowledge, it is a divine knowledge. And because it is divine, you need that secret sauce for you to have this knowledge stick or click in your mind. It's not something you can read through, understand on your own, and live away to glory. Okay, that is why I picked up this shloka, because we will continue from where we left yesterday, why it is important to read Bhagavad Gita, and we'll go deeper into that concept today. So let's pick up a few participants and then we'll get deeper.
Thank you so much, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
Samji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Samji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam enamam upayanti te. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Samji. Radhe Radhe.
Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya.
Radhe Radhe. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते.
Very nice, Sandhya. Radhe Radhe. Okay, let's pick up
Santosh ji,
your hands.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मापुपयान्ति ते.
Wonderful,
राधे राधे
Ashutosh ji. Very nice. Radhe Radhe.
Surendra ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Surendra ji.
राधे राधे तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मापयन्ति ते. राधे राधे.
Radhe, Surendra ji. Thank you. Few words that we have to pay close attention to. Satatayuktanam, bhajatam, priti purvakam, dadami, buddhi yogam. Each word carries a lot of weight. Let's continue. We can pick up the remaining hands real quick and then we'll get deeper into the shloka.
Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे
Radhe.
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you very much.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe.
Rahul.
राधे राधे
Radhe.
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकमः ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते.
Nice, Rahul. Thank you. Okay, last half a dozen hands then.
Padma ji, Radhe Radhe.
6 hands. Let's quickly take that. Radhe Radhe, Padma ji.
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपायन्ति ते.
Very nice, Padma ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, let's pick up.
Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Sumesh ji.
राधे राधे एवरीवन. तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते.
Very nice, Sumesh ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, let's take
Akshita ji, Radhe Radhe.
hands. No more new hands now, so that we can get started. We have a lot of content to cover today. Yes, Akshita ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupasyante
Upayanti te. Right.
upayanti te. Thank you.
All right, let's quickly pick up other hands.
Shalabya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Take 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Real quick, Shriram ma'am.
Ramya ji,
Okay,
Oh,
let's
sorry.
can you hear me?
Sorry. तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकां ददामि बुद्धियोगं तां येन मामुपयान्ति ते. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay, last 3 hands.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन माम् उपयान्ति ते.
Very
राधे
nice.
राधे.
For rest of you, you can keep reciting as they recite at your place. It's very auspicious just to recite that as well. That itself can have a lot of transformative effect because these are the words which came out of God's mouth, not an ordinary person, God's mouth. Right? So if you recite that with faith, that itself can be very transformative. Okay, we're down to our last 2 hands real quick.
Venkat ji, Radhe Radhe.
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं.
Okay, I think we lost Venkat ji. I'll complete it. Yena mamupayanti te. All right, Raghuji.
Raghuji, I can't unmute him. I cannot
Okay.
unmute him somehow. Yeah.
Okay, some problem, I guess. So let's
Yeah.
get started. So this shloka says that, yes, Raghuji, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Raghuji,
Okay,
can you hear me?
let's move on. So the shloka says, God is saying, those whose minds are always united with me in loving devotion, I give the divine knowledge by which they can attain me. Let's mute Raghuji.
I
I think
can't mute
some
him also.
problem in your
Like,
audio.
I
Yeah.
can't mute him also.
So Lord Krishna is saying in this one that those whose minds are always united with me in loving devotion, I give the divine knowledge. So the key operative word here, without see, there's a lot of message packed in this particular shloka, but we are going to focus on that it's God who gives the divine knowledge by which we can attain him. So that divine knowledge part of it, you can read it as a text, but the real import of that wisdom, something that gets established in our heart as a practical knowledge or realized knowledge, or something that that is sustained there without any doubt, is something which is facilitated by God himself. That is the key. It's not through our effort, so we should not have that pride that I have cracked it. Can never happen. It's a divine knowledge, it's a sentient knowledge. You may get a part of it, but then in order to understand it in entirety, we need God's grace in that. So let's get started. Knowledge is what we are going to focus on today. Yesterday we spoke about this, that on one hand you put the entire library of self-help books, but then that will not suffice. The Bhagavad Gita will outweigh it, hands down. Okay. Now, divine knowledge of God is not attained by flight of our intellect. Let's understand this very clearly. Through our flight of intellect, we can never understand it. No matter how powerful mental machine we may possess, we still have to admit that our intellect is made up of material energy. Something which is made up of material energy, it does not have the ability or the capacity to understand something which is divine. It is a very logical point. Okay, our thoughts, understandings, they are confined to material realm, and God and his divine realm remain entirely beyond the scope of our corporeal, which is gross, which is material intellect. It's only through his grace, through this material intellect, we can comprehend God when he graces. Even for Arjun, he could not possibly have seen Krishna until he bestowed divine vision to him. Right? His chakshu or netra, he got that divine vision, and that's when he could actually see Krishna in his Vishwaswarupam, or his full glory Ashwarya Swarup. Same thing with the knowledge also. In order for us to understand the full glory of any shloka, God has to establish that faith, and he provides that knowledge to us, which makes that knowledge a practical wisdom within ourselves. So let's move on. Now, sessions, about the session itself, right? We focus on tilling the soil, just to talk a little bit about it, where we are, tilling it before we can. Yesterday, it was a little bit of a tilling. Why we should be reading? First of all, this question has to be conquered. Why should I read Bhagavad Gita? Right? That is more of a tilling the soil. And when we start going through the shloka, we sow the seed. These are some of the concepts that are sown. How to plant the seeds of spirituality. All of us, we are going through these sessions because we already have that. And then, of course, as we continue to attend these sessions, we focus on the what aspect of it, where we are nourishing and nurturing it on a daily basis. Okay, so this is the whole framework about this session itself. And how do we do that? We do it through discussions, introspective activities, stories, analogies, quizzes, and more recently bhajans also, which carry a lot of tattva gyan, philosophy around it as well. And just to clarify, official ending time for our sessions is 10 p.m. CST. We have to enforce it for the sessions that come afterwards. I think they're going to be more than one now. However, if you are interested, we spent another 900 seconds or so on bhajans and for further discussion that we do. Okay, it could be a little more than 900 seconds as well, but you have no obligation whatsoever to stick around. 10 o'clock, you can put a full stop, hard stop. But if you're interested in some further discussion, some informal conversations, and some bhajan, devotional nectar, you can stick back. But I just wanted to make it clear that our official time is 9 to 10 p.m. CST, but you are welcome to continue after that time as well, especially when we don't have any session afterwards. So hopefully that makes it clear. It's not that the session continues forever. All right, now let's move on. Today we are going to, this is the thing I picked up. Did you know the similarity between the scriptures and the cooked rice? Okay, I'll touch upon that. It's not a big deal after all. It's an interesting concept, and that's what I'll touch upon as well. So let's move on. Now, 3 kinds of pramans, evidences that we need in that are typically we rely on to establish our faith on something. What are those 3 kind of praman is what we are going to look at. The first one is called pratyaksh praman, in which we rely on our sensory perceptions to understand something. Right? When the sun comes out, we say it's day. When the sun sets, we say it's night. If we can see something under the microscope, we know it is, we are looking at a molecular or a subatomic level, and we can actually observe its behavior. It is a pratyaksh praman. Through the operators, through our senses, we can perceive it. Scientists say if I can see it through my eyes, experience it through my senses, verify it in a lab, I'm willing to believe in God. Okay, that is an argument typically the scientists say. Now let's look at the fallacy or the limitation of this pratyaksh or the direct praman. Now, can we hear ultrasonic or ultrasonic sounds through our ears? We cannot. There's a certain wavelength through which we can hear through, right? As humans, dogs can hear ultrasonic sounds. That's why when the earthquake and those kind of events happen, some of the animals, they start picking up those signals, vibes, right? And they can hear that. We don't have that ability. So can we say that it doesn't exist? Of course not. Can we say waves beyond a certain wavelength? We cannot. But can we negate the existence of those waves? We cannot. So the problem with the direct perception or the pratyaksh praman is that it is limited and it is imperfect. If you read physics, if you put your finger or a stick inside water and look at it, the law of refraction will make it look bent. So are we saying it is bent? It is not bent. It is actually straight. But your sensory perception is deceiving you. So direct perception or pratyaksh praman is something which is limited and imperfect. Let's understand it that way. Right? So any scientist who says that, or any person who says that, if I'm willing to see it, then only I'm going to believe it. Actually, there is a fallacy in that argument. The second one is called anuman praman, which is a derived knowledge, inferential knowledge. Something happens, and because of which you can say that this is where what it means. For example, there's light, but you're not seeing the sun. Sun might be hidden behind the clouds. So the inferential logic will say the sun is there. Or if you see smoke, you say there is fire. However, these are some of the inferences you can derive. For example, if you are there, you had a father and you had a grandmother and your grandfather and all that stuff. So those are although you have never seen them, right? Great grandparents, but you believe it. Why? It is inferential. Just because you exist, that means they existed as well, although you have never seen them. Right? So, but this also has a limitation, because if you see there is smoke, you may say it is fire, but it could be mist or fog also. So inferential knowledge also has its limitations around it. Then what do we do? How do we do we have a way to have a reliable way of understanding something? The good news is, yes, we do have. Obviously, there are terms and conditions that apply along with it. However, there is something called Shruti Praman. Okay. This is also called Shabd Praman and the testimonial evidence. The term and condition is from a bona fide source. And then it comes through oral tradition. And that is how it has come in. It is called a perfect source of knowledge without any limitations. The term and condition is it needs to come from a bona fide source. And the bona fide source is called, what is a bona fide source then? It has to come through some person, right? It has to come through somebody who is God realized, Shrutriya and Brahmanisht. well versed in scriptures, and somebody who's realized himself or herself. That is a bona fide resource. So this praman becomes the perfect praman, Shruti praman. Not from somebody, it's not a hearsay where you come across somebody and he tells you and you believe that. That person has to be bona fide in the sense that they should have realized God, first of all, themselves. And secondly, they need to be very well, entirely well versed with all the scriptures, in the sense that scriptures are what? They were codified sounds produced when this creation came into existence. They were not written by any human beings. And if somebody is God realized, that person becomes like God. He doesn't become God, he becomes like God. Like God means he has absolute knowledge at that point. And if that person is passing through a tradition, oral tradition, then it becomes a perfect knowledge, and it has no imperfections whatsoever. Now, for example, even in world, if you were to go through Pratyaksh Praman or Anuman Praman, if somebody has to find their father scientifically, how many DNA tests would you need if you were to roam around the world? A lot of DNA tests, right? So what is a smarter way of knowing it? Just ask your mother. Similarly, when we have to access spiritual knowledge, you go to Guru, somebody who's realized there. It's a very smartest, surest, and the quickest way of accessing that vast knowledge that has been disseminated by God at the time of creation itself. Okay, so the key takeaway from this thing, the Pratyaksh Praman and the Anuman Praman has its limitations. The scriptural knowledge is accessed through Shruti Praman, through a bona fide source. That is a key thing. Others, now even for Pratyaksh Praman aspect of this, even the Shruti Praman is something which is scientific in the sense that it talks about the process. It's not just faith, it is intelligent faith. I'll tell you why. Shruti Praman would tell you that there is a process to see God. You follow that process, what saints and scriptures are saying, and if you don't see God, then say, no, I'm not willing to believe in it. It's similar to the clarified butter or ghee is not visible in milk. But if you take out the cream, you churn it, form the yogurt, then you melt it, you can extract ghee out of it. That means, although the ghee was not visible, there is a process. And if you follow that process, you can see the ghee or the clarified butter in it. Similarly, through Shruti Praman, multiple saints who have actually documented how God looks like, they are telling us the process. You follow this process. If you're willing to follow that process, we will be able to see God as we see each other. If you have to go to Greenland, you have to first get a passport, then you have to apply for a visa, then you need to get a ticket, and then you need to board a flight, and then you will see Greenland in its full glory. Similar to that, if you have to see God through Shruti Praman, because you want to see him, perceive him, follow the process. If you don't see it, reject it. Say, I don't believe in God. What Tulsidas, Kalidas, Kabirdas, Guru Nanak Dev, everybody told the process how to see God. I followed that and I couldn't see it. But the problem happens when we are not willing to follow the process. We don't have faith and we simply negate or reject this concept. All right, so let's continue now. We have spoken about the Shruti Praman aspect of it. Furthermore, now let's look at how we derive. Okay, so what's the importance of it? So one at a time. So you've got a foundation, broken foundation here. The foundation is all messed up. And you went on to build a big castle on top of it. What is going to happen if you do that? I mean, it's a very difficult question, but you can try it. Anybody wants to try that? Yes, Shyamji.
Yeah, Samji says castle also will be messed up.
Yeah, true. So you can build on as high a castle as you want. However, if the foundation is broken, then the castle is not going to stand the test of time. It's just a matter of time before it's going to collapse. Similar to that,
There was a doubt from Sandhya ji initially. She was asking that can we say that Pratyaksha and Anuman Praman are ascending knowledge, and Shruti Praman is descending knowledge? Can we say that?
Yeah, you jumped the gun, but I'm getting into that. Sure, I'm getting into that concept.
Thank you. Radhe, Radhe.
Good. We have some learned scholars already here, so but yes, we'll get into that camp. That's a good catch. So we spoke about the foundation part of it. Now, sources of knowledge. It's very important where we are acquiring knowledge from. Because if our foundation of knowledge is weak, messed up, then whatever we build on top of it is going to be messed up as well. And more so on the path of spirituality, before you start building the castle, it's important to have that foundation rock solid. Now let's look at some of the sources of knowledge. How do we get knowledge in our lives? We get it through formal and informal channels, right? Now, what are those informal channels? Let's look at it. Our experience and our own senses. We learn through our Gyanendriyas, right? All the five senses, we absorb information like a sponge and make our own inferences, deductions, and some stereotypes that we build. And we rely on our own experience as well. This thing happened, so this must be like that. If all the brokers, house brokers are corrupt people, or all the politicians are bad, so we build all those stereotypes based on our experiences, and that's how we start labeling the world around us. What are we relying on? We are relying on our own experience and our own senses. What else then? They are limited and imperfect. Right? We have seen that multiple times in our life. When we start painting things with a broad brush, it could give us wrong results. Now, the other aspect of it is knowledge that is happening to us. Now, we may not be acquiring knowledge, but it is happening to us. How is it happening to us? Through multiple channels. They are coming through elders, friends, peers, news channels, Google. These days, everybody's a doctor, right? If you go to WebMD, social media, etc. This is the assault of knowledge that is happening to us through all the quarters, and we are subconsciously absorbing it. If you keep on watching channel for a long time, you will develop a perspective about the world. One of my uncles, he used to watch a lot of BBC, and every day he will be paranoid the world is going to come to an end. Okay. And if somebody is really watching all the channels, Ukraine news, BBC, all that stuff, they will say Ghor Kalyug has come. Now this Ghor Kalyug has been continuing for a while. It's not even a toddler. So all this information that we are getting, we are not really getting. It's just happening to us. A billboard will come in front of you, just do it, just get it. And you'll say, yeah, that is what I need in life. Because if I'll not drink Pepsi, I don't belong to my friend culture system, right? Or if I don't watch this cool movie and I don't say it was really cool, then I don't belong to this set of friends that I have, because everybody has found it cool, right? So these are some of the things that are happening informally to us. And so if you look at it through multiple channels, it just continues to happen to us. Now, this is limited and imperfect in a ways, because this is not absolute knowledge. It is being fed to us for a purpose. Now, the other aspect of it is the self-study people do. People are voracious reader. They can do scriptural study on their own. Self-help books are there. Anything and everything we can lay our hands on. That can happen too. It is called in our scriptures Shastra Vasana. That is also self-study. Okay, so I'm putting it in orange, I'll tell you. Now, this is also something which is limited, and you are capping yourself with the intellect of the author who has written that book. And I'll tell you the limitations of that as well. Okay. Plus, when you do scriptural study on your own, you may think, you may have a sense of pride in your intellect, but our intellect is not good enough to understand that, no matter how intelligent you are, because they are divine, and you will end up getting confused. Virodhabhasi or contradictory things when you will come across in scriptures, there are two possibilities. Either you will have your own interpretation, selective interpretation around it, or you will say, no, what I've understood is this negates this, so this doesn't make sense. So it's impossible to do that. Then other formal aspect of acquiring knowledge is under the guidance of an expert guru. Now within that also there are possibilities. Shotriya, somebody could be very well versed in scriptures. You ask any shloka and they can recite it. Right? That is also possible. Somebody could be God realized, completely God realized. Okay, but then they don't get into scriptures. And one could be none, right? Who will just raise their hand and say Kripa will shower on you if you eat samosas. They are neither Kshatriya nor Brahmanist, right? So many fake gurus we see. That can also happen. All possibilities are there, but at least you are acquiring it formally. You have some faith on that. And the last one is both. Who is Shrotri and Brahmanist both? Now, if you end into this category of both, that is where your purpose will start getting served. Shrotriya can resolve your doubts. Brahmanist can also resolve your doubts. But if somebody is both, it's a best case scenario for you. Okay, that is the way to acquire knowledge. It has to stand the test of three filters. Scripture said, saints have said it, multiple saints have said it, and Guru is saying that, who's a God realized Guru. If these three are in coherence, that means it's an absolute truth. You don't have to think twice about it. If these three filters have to be applied to really get the proper or the true knowledge. Now, moving on, let's look at the knowledge from humans. You say, no, I go through a lot of self-help books. It's written by humans, and the knowledge from humans, no matter how elevated that person is, could be a Nobel Prize winner as well. They would still have these four fallacies that they would have to deal with. First one is called Karnapatwa, limited senses or lack of experience. Okay, nobody can, even Maya is so vast that nobody can crack everything. You can go to a deep extent of any subject, but absolute truth, you'll be far away from that. Second is called, okay, so like Higgs boson must be assumed to exist based on estimation. Nobody has been able to get to that point yet, right? Particle has mass. Now, will soul or that divine particle have mass? Of course not. Yes, Nikhil, you had a question?
Nikhil ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Hello, Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji.
Radhe Radhe.
So, Nitin ji, can you please explain Shrotriya and Brahmanishta once again?
Shrotriya means somebody who is very well versed in scriptures. Very well versed in scriptures means when you ask them a question, they are not simply telling you that I'm telling you that is why it is a truth. They are telling you because scriptures are saying that, and they can quote it with bibliographical reference that so and so scripture on so and so verse and so page, this truth has been stated not only in scriptures but across different scriptures. In Ramayana it says, in Kathopanishad it says, in Brahmanandvalli it says, in Bhagavatam it says, in Bhagavad Gita it says. Somebody who can resolve your doubts with scriptural bibliographical reference, not just somebody is just saying that because they believe so. Okay, so those are the principles they can state. Brahmanist means they are not just theoretically well versed, but they are practically realized too. They have seen the truth. They are God realized. So if theoretical person could be a gold medalist in science, doctor, MBBS, and practical person could be somebody who has experience for 20 years, which one would you prefer? You would prefer somebody who has actually seen the truth, right? So Shrotriya plus Brahmanist makes for the perfect combination for a guru. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No worries. Now, knowledge from humans, I've said the first one is limited senses or lack of experience. Second is Brahm, illusion. Right? Mirage of body as self, objected of senses will give happiness. So have you seen somebody who doesn't believe in God, supposedly a theist, understanding the higher scriptural principle, they consider themselves as a body, and this body, which is made up of a few chemicals as a basis of life, so that Brahm or the illusion in which they live. So when you are penning down a philosophy to teach people in your self-help book, when your premise itself is messed up, how can you get to the absolute truth, right? So illusion is the second problem you will come across in all these books from all these authors. Second is pramada, the mistakes. To err is human, right? Like dispensing medicines, computer programs, books, we all see humans, they make mistakes. And to err is human, his part is there as well. So they will make mistakes because they don't have perfect knowledge. And second is vipralipsa, which is called propensity to cheat. A lot of scientists, they have made false claims for prestige. Howard started saying that fat is bad. Don't blame it on sugar, because all the entire sugar industry have deep pockets, and those are the ones who fund their research programs as well. So then they have a tendency to cheat as well. Even for Darwin's theory, there have been, you can go and search it up, people have filed the bones just to support their theory because there were missing links from one to another, right? There were missing links, so they filed those bones to support the theory that it was a part of an evolution. There are a lot of missing links in that, by the way. So there's a propensity to cheat. These four imperfections, somebody you would have to deal with when you are putting or reposing your faith in some human author. Okay, so that's just a quick touch base I wanted to do. Now let's get into the perfect knowledge aspect of it. Right? I think Sandhya brought that concept, so let's talk about it now. So there is an ascending process. As more frontiers of knowledge are broken up by science, you keep on gaining knowledge. Ascending knowledge means you are building it ground up based on the understanding you have at any point in time. Okay, there is a problem with that as well. So this is the basis of modern science. There are two ways to acquire knowledge, right? We're going to talk about that. This is the basis of modern science. What happens with this is knowledge is built incrementally over time. Something which is truth may not be truth tomorrow. Atom is indivisible. When I was studying, okay, don't calculate how far back I was studying, okay? Now, atom is indivisible. Then they said, no, by the way, atom has neutrons, protons, and then quarks, and then Higgs. Now we are coming up to that dual particle theory and all that stuff. So the truth keeps on changing as the newer theories keep on emerging. Okay. And the other, it is a limited knowledge. And even if, let's say, one day science will advance so much that it reaches that truth. First of all, material things cannot reach divine, right? So getting to the Higgs boson particle or the God particle, no apparatus can capture it. But let's say it reaches that, it still does not answer the question, bigger questions related to afflictions ailing human mind. How do we get over anger? How do we get over greed? How do we remove the evil in human heart? How do we break out of the matrix of human life, right? What is the purpose of our life? Science does not tackle those questions. So this is the limitation of ascending knowledge, right? All the theories that come up, they try to scratch the surface, but it does not have the ability to really go deep into these questions because that technology is not available in ascending process of knowledge or scientific way of approaching this thing. The other part is, like I said, the Shruti Praman. It is called the descending process of knowledge. This is based on scriptural knowledge, reiterated by multiple saints. Like I said, there's no contradiction. Every saint is saying that. Time-tested universal principles. In scriptures, once they say this is truth, it is truth. It does not go and undergo any revisions. Like in science, it happens. It is truth means truth. Plants have life, plants have life. That's it. No, and it is a perfect knowledge, presents a manual for human life. This is perfect knowledge. Okay. Now this is where reiterated by multiple saints. Okay, this is an important concept. It is in scriptures. It is, you can find references for that, and it is called perfect knowledge, which presents a manual for human life. Now, when I say, if you look at it, this for the scientific, even Einstein had said that the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. That is from Albert Einstein. He was one of the biggest scientists of our century, right? And in scriptural knowledge, it is said, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. This world is the veritable form of God. Both of these sciences are bona fide sciences. Material science is there to make our life comfortable. Spiritual science is there to answer the bigger questions of life on what is the purpose of life and how to achieve that. So both sciences are given to us as bona fide branches of science, and they should be mutually reinforcing each other as opposed to being at loggerheads with each other. That is the key understanding from that. Yeah, I see a couple of hands. Any questions?
Shiramya ji, yeah.
Shiramya?
Radhe Radhe. So in the descending knowledge, also I mentioned that it has to be mentioned in scriptures, iterated by saints, and then stamped by Guru. So my question is it possible that something is given in the scriptures and iterated by the saints, but it's not applicable in the latest yuga or the latest way of living. And in those cases, can the guru overwrite it if it is told in scriptures and iterated by saints?
No,
Like
see,
for example is Ekadashi fasting. It's there in scriptures also, and it's iterated by many saints also. Many saints have followed. Like now it's not like very practical. So and gurus also, like some support it, some don't support it. So we feel confused. Like I mean, this is my question.
understood. Right. So our scriptures are like a general store. You go to Costco, you will find everything that you need there, right? Big shopping mart. So it has pretty much everything that humans would need. Not everybody is interested in God as well. I think that's where we need to revisit back chapter 2 and 3, where we discussed about some of the what you called karam kand aspect of it. So depending upon what you are attuning to in scriptures, your practice would vary. For example, the end result of all the practices to develop love for God. So if you've understood that concept, then you would really understand. Even when you are fasting, are you able to develop that consciousness that you are with God, or you're doing it for God? If yes, then you do it. If no, then you don't do it. So enough gurus are there who can guide you depending upon what message you are ready for. But if you want to do fasting because you are in the process of taming your senses, disciplining your senses, and that is the stage that is needed for you, and that is what you're trying to practice, maybe that will appeal to you. A lot of people do that even today. They do extensive fasting even today. So when you say gurus can override it, they actually tailor it to the yuga in which they are. Like in Kali Yuga, they have, if you look at all the saints, they have reiterated that Harinam is the only way to attain salvation. If you do chanting, kirtan, or remember God's name, that is the only way to do that, right? However, if you have sanskars for some other path, you will get attached to that path, and you will still continue to progress there. But the point here is we have to, again, when we get into the knowledge, if we are interpreting it on our own, then there is a likelihood that we may get confused. But if we have a guru, we have to really pick up the nuggets with awareness, and God is going to establish our faith in that. So if you look at the higher principles, you spoke about the concept of fasting. The higher principle is anything that helps you develop love for God, go for it. If it doesn't help you develop love for God, shun it without fear. Why do we want to do fasting? Because we are not convinced on that higher concept yet. We are still thinking if we do this kind of an austerity, God is going to like it, right? So I think we just need to solidify our knowledge around that, and align to the higher principle around these are the things, these are means to an end. What is the end? And when we start aligning to those things, then I think the confusions will subside. And whenever in doubt, take help from Guru, the expert Guru who can help resolve doubts for you. This is how I would see that. But yeah, this is tailored to a particular yuga as well. Austerities and other things in Satyuga and all, they were practical because people used to be strong. They could meditate and do all those kind of things. In Kali Yuga, because we are weak, God has made it even easier for us to attain God. Just take Harinam, meditate on God, develop love for God, and your purpose is served. So greater the threat, the higher the opportunity. The threat in Kali Yuga is we are short-lived, our memories are weak, we are weak, right? We don't have a good focus. But God said, all right, let me make it easy for you. For you to realize God in Satyug, it will take much more because the bar is raised by people around you. But in Kali Yuga, bar is low because of your surrounding, but God has made it easy for you. But even then, we find it so hard to focus even the basic principles of Karam Yoga in our day-to-day life, right? That's how I see that. Anyway, that was a long-winded answer to your short question. Hope that helped somewhat, Shriram. We can continue that.
Yes, Nitinji. Thanks a lot. It's in fact cleared a lot of questions, because if we, like, I usually, when I try to say something or see something, the other person's response will be like, is it there in the scriptures? If it is not that, then how are you saying like that way? So at some points, even though I'm like sure, it still keeps me confused, thinking that yeah, it is given in the scriptures. I'm going against it, and the guilt will be there at times. So this cleared it.
Yeah. See, Maharaji Swamiji has simplified it for us big time. Simple thumb of rule. Anything that helps you take your mind to God and develop love for God, do it. Continue doing it, more of it. Anything that you're doing simply as a ritual, as a mechanical exercise, or otherwise out of fear, that is not taking your mind to God with loving devotion, reject it without any fear. Simple thumb of rule. So that is the beauty of Raganuga Bhakti, where your sole aim or goal of life is to figure out ways to develop love for God, and nothing beyond that matters. Okay. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question too?
Yeah. Sandhya ji?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
The rice aspect of it. Yes, go ahead.
So it was basically that pramada mistakes aspect that we talked about. I mean, in many cases, even the way scriptural knowledge is available to us, that may also involve this human error, because the way it comes to us is not only through God realized saints, it's through all sorts of sources. So that, I mean, that was a question to start with, but I kind of, through the discussion, have the answer as well, which is that basically stresses on the importance of having, I feel, a living guru with whom, who's God realized and Kshotriya, so that we can get doubts clarified. I mean, for even Bhagavad Gita, we have so many commentaries by so many people which have interpretations differently for the same shloka.
Very true.
So, yeah.
You understood it very correct. Yes. So if a human has interpreted Bhagavad Gita and you repose faith in that and you really like it, just keep in mind these four fallacies will be there, and you are capping your understanding by the intellectual understanding of that human being, which is prone to these four defects always. So only the commentary from a God realized saint, right, is the one that we can really go with. And the proof is in the pudding. I'm not saying go with that. It is a faith to begin with, but it is an intelligent faith. Right? If even if in our material life, if we have to do something, if we have to build muscles, or if we have to hone our skills, we put faith in something and then we practice it, and then we repetitively practice it, and then we see the result, and then we say, okay, this makes sense. It's the same principle here as well. So when you start aligning to those principles, then you will start seeing the results as well. That's how it goes. Yes. So Padmaji, I'll come back to you. So I'll just explain this principle, so that let me break the, what do you call that, the suspense around that. So the cooking of rice concept is like, if in our scriptures, right, or in Bhagavad Gita, let's say, you have aligned to a principle and it has given you results. Okay, you can safely assume the rest of it will give you the similar kind of results if you follow that. It's just like a cooked rice. When it is cooked, you don't taste each and everything. A little bit of it you taste, you can safely assume rest of it is cooked as well. And that is how the scriptures go. If one part of it you have reposed faith in, you cannot selectively say, I will trust only this much of rice. Rest I'll have to test one by one, only then I'll taste it. You can safely assume that. That is the principle of our scriptures as well. That is the beauty of our scriptures. Basically, you just go, it's called, you don't go with ad kukat meai, where you say, no, this makes sense. Not there are a lot of people and commentators who, even while reading Bhagavad Gita, they say this, this makes sense, but this doesn't make sense. How can you say that? I mean, that both don't make sense or both make sense. So we cannot get into that. We cannot question on this makes sense and this doesn't make sense. I'll tell you about one of the shlokas, may not be in this session, where a leading author, he actually put a question mark, like yoga kshem vyamyaham. Why does God have to do that? He can actually do it through his subordinates, and the experience he had with Krishna afterwards. I'll bring that story in. The point here is, we just have to go with that. And reading Bhagavad Gita, going through Bhagavatam, is like conversing with Krishna. That's essentially what it is. Okay, you do it with faith, you will see the results, and it's a beautiful spot to be in from that sense. Yes, Padmaji, please go ahead. Now, let me go through the next slide after Padmaji, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff, the questions that get answered when you align to some of the study that we are doing. Yes, Padmaji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Just Ramya, this question. Just wanted to give few thoughts. Right? if you follow Bhagavad Gita, and to the extent that we understand, the doubting or the U-turn will happen where when you come in with devotion, when you come in with faith to God and Guru, that the spiritual dharma that comes before you, you look from that spiritual lens, and whatever the actions that you take, if that translates into devotion and love for God and Guru, you continue to do that, because that might not be the path for somebody else. Somebody else's translation of devotion, somebody else's experience of devotion might be different. Just as in Bhagavad Gita, like there are so many chapters and it's catered for everybody. Ultimately, anything that you do, if it is helping you spiritually grow and it is helping you develop that love and bhakti for God, the switch will happen where it is not an understanding anymore, but rather it is an experience, and you are the witness of that experience. So you know that your experience of that act towards God, your bhakti will speak to you, and your connection with God will speak in that action, that it is appropriate for you to take that step and trust in God and Guru's vision, and you go by it. Whenever your mind raffles and says, you just surrender yourself God and Guru and say, what, my action, I want to do this to develop love and devotion for God through this action, whether it's fasting, no fasting. Just a few things that I wanted to add.
Sure, that's true. And even Narad Bhakti Darshan says, thank you, Padmaji, for that. Narad Bhakti Darshan further goes on to say that the proof of bhakti is as evident as the salt in food is. You cannot negate that. Okay, that is, the proof is in the pudding. So when you start aligning to some of these principles, it is backed with experience. You can't even articulate it. Right? A dumb person cannot explain what is the taste of a jalebi or a dessert. They can only try to articulate as best as they can, or for that matter, you cannot explain how hungry you are, or you cannot explain how happy you are. It is backed with your inner experience, and that is how bhakti unfolds or manifests uh, through our experience itself. Great point, Padmaji. Yes, Samji?
Samji, Radhe
Radhe
Radhe.
Radhe. Nitinji, can you please tell me again, how is that cooked rice compared with scriptures?
Which is compared with scriptures?
Cooked rice compared with scriptures.
Okay, so scriptures means if part of it is true, right? If you have believed in part of it, some, let's say 2.47 click to you, or 2.63 click to you, that makes perfect sense. Then rest of it is cooked as well. That means everything is siddh in our scriptures. You cannot say 2.47 made sense, but I have some doubts about 2.63 or 10.10. This doesn't make sense. So if part of it is cooked, that means the rest of it is cooked as well, because it's all coming from the same source. It's not written by humans, right? That's what it means. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you read Bhagavad Gita, you will be able to get answers to not just limited to these questions, but pretty much all, right? What is my relationship with God? How did this creation come into being? What is the secret to everlasting happiness? Does spirituality make us fatalists? All the common questions, everything and much beyond that will get answered as well. More importantly, I see it as a manual for human life. See, if you come from India and start driving in US, and you start driving a left wheel drive here, or right wheel drive like they do in India, and you hit a car coming from another direction, and the cop catches you, you think he will excuse you that the fact that you did not know the rule or the law of the land? They will not, right? Similarly, as humans, ignorance is not a bliss. Ignorance is not an excuse. When we play a game, let's say a game of chess or a game of soccer or a game of cricket, first we have to know the rule, and then we have to play it better than the other team. In this case, the game of life, we have to know the rule, and we don't have to play it better than anybody else. We just have to play it right way, and everybody is a winner. Okay, that is how easy God has made it for us. But if we don't try to seek and understand the rules or the, how we can do progress spiritually, or what is the purpose of life, then that is the biggest disservice we can do to ourselves after becoming humans. So it is obligatory on us, it is incumbent upon us to understand the rules. And scriptures, Bhagavad Gita that we are doing, is the one which will help us understand those rules. And we hope to start aligning to those by putting those things to practice and make our human life a success. So that is the biggest gain of reading Bhagavad Gita, because yesterday we saw Bhagavad Gita is a cream. Upanishads are the cream of all the scriptures, and Bhagavad Gita is an essence of that. So Krishna has made it very easy for us. He understood that as humans, especially in Kali Yuga, will not have the intellect to go through it, every part of it. So he's just distilled everything for us and given it to us. And we are fortunate enough for us that our Guru has actually translated it for us and explaining these principles in a very palatable way that makes sense to us. And then we can apply it in our day-to-day lives as well. Couple of hands, let's take those. And
yeah, Nikhilji, Radhe Radhe.
And by the way, happy Ganesh Chaturthi to everybody. I forgot, in my excitement, I forgot to wish that. So happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all of you. Ganesha has two big ears, right? Basically, it symbolizes we should listen very carefully. And God has also given us 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means listen twice as much as you speak. So, but happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all of you. So the Vigna Vinashak Bhagavan that we have. Yes, let's hear from participants now.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone, and happy Ganesh Chaturthi everyone. Yeah, Nitinji, I have a question, and I'll tell you, I have an answer as well, but I don't know whether it's correct or wrong. So my doubt is how do we believe, as we know, you said, we believe from the God realized since whatever they help us easily understand the scriptures. So we believe that, and that's my blind faith. So for example, when I started reading Swamiji's Bhagavad Gita, it really helped increase my devotion to God, and I had many questions which got answered, so I started believing it, and it improved my life. So now I believe that whatever in it, that book, the Swamiji's commentaries and everything, I blindly believe that. So what other things as that? So suppose tomorrow I want to read, suppose I want to read, for example, Bhagavatam. So if there is a book written by Swamiji, I would blindly go. But if there is no book written by Swamiji, I went ahead and asked Swamiji, he told me to read the Gita first, Bhagavatam. So can I apply this same principle to others as well? So if I read something, and if I spiritual scriptures only, my topic is limited to only the spiritual scriptures. So if I read some spiritual scriptures and it helped me increase my devotion, help me in a better way, so can I believe that Guru or that Swami is the true one, and can I blindly follow those things as well?
Yes, you can, but you may not have the benefit of getting the same author for all the books all the times, right?
Yeah, so that's the reason I wanted to ask.
You
So
can
can I apply this principle to what I just applied to current thing, because there are many publications for everything, right? So
I had asked this question to Swamiji as well. He told me the Gita Press one is something if you want to get an idea about it, but I would strongly encourage you to listen to some of the discourses, because it truly gets the import of that as well, right? Gopi Geet more recently he did the 10th canto itself. Rasik Saint can explain you the true import of it. You will not be able to understand it by reading through yourself. So listen to discourses, and I am telling you what we need for our devotion. It will be served to us on a platter by God through some means. It will happen. So you just have that intent, honesty around getting that, and you will get that. It will be served to you on a platter, I'm telling you. You just have that. And we don't need a whole lot of knowledge to progress, actually, to be honest, in spirituality. Little bit of knowledge is good enough for us to progress. See, when we have to teach, I was talking to the other day, right? When we in order to kill somebody, we need a sword. In order to kill ourselves, we need just a pen. Similarly, in order for us to progress spiritually, we just need this much of knowledge. But when we are discussing or we have to explain it to others, we need tons of it. So for you, if you want to develop your devotion or progress fast on this track, that much God will make sure you get it, as long as you have the right intent. So don't get worried too much about that. But yes, if you have the curiosity, you will end up with stuff and come across lectures which will give you the answer that you're looking for to progress spiritually or in your devotion. It will happen in due course of time.
Thank you so much, Nitin.
No worries. Yes, Nitin calling Nitin. It's always a fun. So,
Namaskar. Am I audible, sir?
yes,
you are.
Yes. Good to hear you after a long time.
Yes. नमस्कार सर. सब लोगों को गणेश चतुर्थी की बहुत सारी शुभकामनाएं. इस मुंबई में बहुत ज्यादा ही सेलिब्रेशन होता है. और सर ने जो कहा, आपके सेशन सुनना ही मेरा भाग्य है कि मैं आज मुझे नसीब मिला. और सर, आज आपने जितना इलाबरेटली वे से कहा, बहुत बड़ी बात है. तो ये मोड पे मैं कुछ कहना चाहता हूँ. मेरे गुरु ने मुझे बताया था प्रश्न उपनिषद. गुरु को प्रश्न भी कैसे पूछना चाहिए उसके बारे में बहुत अच्छे से कहा था, क्योंकि मैं अपने कॉन्शियस लेवल पे ऑपरेट करता हूँ. मेरी अपनी माया है, मेरी अपनी वासना है, उस हिसाब से मैं प्रश्न पूछता हूँ. बट उसके लिए बोलते ब्रह्मचर्य का पालन, जैसे गुरु बोलेंगे उनका ध्यान करेंगे ना, मुझे लगता है सारे सवालों के आंसर्स मिलते. मैं अपनी बात कहूंगा नितिन सर के बारे में. जब भी मैं उनको ध्यान करता हूँ ना, मुझे बहुत अच्छा अंदर से फील होता है. और मैं हालांकि आपको सही में कहना चाहता हूँ, आई एम नॉट फ्रॉम इंग्लिश मीडियम एट ऑल, आई एम फ्रॉम मराठी मीडियम, wherein my grammars and all is not at all good. But when I look at him, whatever he says ना, मुझे समझ में आता है वो क्या कहना चाहते हैं ऐसे. So whenever we focus at our guru, whomsoever is teaching, we always get those answers. I think I generally don't like to ask any questions because all the answers ना we get it during these shibits. I mean during this sir session होती है ऐसा. और सर से तो मैं सर को स्पेशली मैं थैंक यू कहना चाहता हूँ. जो कुछ भी मैं सीख रहा हूँ कहीं और से भी, तो सर के थ्रू में अप्लाई करना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि सर जैसे जीते हैं और सर जैसे अप्लाई करते, टाइम निकालते, ये सब में मेरे आचरण में लाने की कोशिश करता हूँ. अपने आप मुझे शुद्ध बुद्धि शायद मिलने की थोड़ी बहुत कोशिश मिलती है बस. बट सर बहुत थैंक यू. और मुझे अपने आप को ही कहना है कि मुझे सर, क्योंकि सर्स टाइम इज वेरी प्रेशियस. व्हेन आई एम आस्किंग समथिंग, देयर आर सम कंटेंट सर हैज टू टीच आल्सो, बिकॉज़ ही कम्स विद सो मेनी थिंग्स. आज सर ने कठोपनिषद के बारे में कहा, वो कठोपनिषद जो मैंने कहीं और से सीखा या जाना है ऐसे, तो ये बहुत आपने सर बोला ब्रह्मनिष्ठ, क्षत्रिय, ब्राह्मण जो कैटेगरीज है सर, ये मैंने कहीं पढ़ा भी और मुझे बहुत गर्व महसूस होता है कि मैं आपके क्लास में बैठने का मुझे भाग्य मिलता है. पता नहीं ऊपर वाले ने बहुत अच्छी किस्मत लिखी. और आज आपने गणेश जी का भी सिंबलिक मीनिंग बताया. बहुत बड़े कान, बहुत बड़ा पेट और मुंह किसके लिए होता है. तो दीज आर ऑल वेरी वेरी इसेंशियल थिंग्स विच आई वुड लाइक टू फॉलो. एंड सर वेरी वेरी थैंक यू टू यू कि इतना बड़ा आप लेक्चर लेते हैं और हम लोगों के लिए आप आते हैं. हाथ जोड़ के आपको प्रणाम सर. और सर सच में थैंक यू. ये मेरी बस की बात नहीं है कि मैं इतना पेशेंटली और इतने अच्छे से मैं पढ़ा पाऊँ. और सर आप हमारे लिए आते हैं, हमारा ऋण बहुत चढ़ रहा है कि हम आपसे ले रहे कुछ दे नहीं रहे. बट सर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि मुझे मौका मिलता है आपको सुनने का. थैंक यू सर.
थैंक यू नितिन जी. आपके भाव बहुत ही वो है. बट I'll be honest about this thing. All that I state here, the mistakes that I do, that is owned by me. But anything that clicks or you find beneficial is coming from our guru. Okay, that much I can tell you. I always say that, right? It coming directly from guru. But aapke bhav, and thank you for that. You're always very encouraging and kind, which inspires me to put in my best, and you know, so that everybody can benefit. I get that. And like I always want to reiterate, it's coming from Swami Ji and Maharaj Ji. Unki kripa hai to shabd bhi aa jate hain, you know, and you get the right things and right stuff to resolve all the questions that come in those sessions. And it's my honor and privilege to be doing this seva, and be amongst this wonderful group of participants every day. And the benefit that I am reaping, I can't even tell you that. You thinking you are getting benefited, but I am getting 10 folds more benefit out of it. So the pleasure is entirely mine. But thank you so much, Nitinji. It's an honor and a privilege to have you in these sessions. And we would continue to hope we can hear more from you during the course of these sessions. So thank you again.
Nitinji, I second his thoughts, and I'm sure not I, the entire group second his thoughts. And as we all know, initially also I told you that, asked you, how do you map these shlokas to topics? It is really amazing, Nitin bhai. And trust you me, we all have the same feelings for you. And as the chat window is also flooding with all the messages, Jyotish ji says, yeah, we all feel so blessed. Kumar ji says, when Nitin ji's praises Nitin ji, does it feel like self-praise? And Sandhya ji says, window mirror concept. Sushila ji says, thank you, Nitin ji. It's all your badappan humility that you say all those things in such softly, such humble manner. And trust you us, we feel the way whatever he has said, it is true. And it is not an easy job, Nitin bhai, the way you do it. Trust you us.
So keep showering your blessings and good wishes so that we can continue to evolve as a group. Like I said, what I gain is priceless, and it is my fortune and privilege. And I pray to God that it continues so that whatever comes out is meaningful. Okay. But your wishes mean a lot. So thank you so much for that. And Nitin ji, you don't have to call me sir, to be honest. Uh, in fact, I would encourage everybody to call me Nitin. I'll feel much better around that. Okay, this G thing, it's only should be attached to Maharaj ji, Swami ji, and in material world, if you want, it should be Parle ji. Nobody else is G, to be honest. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I will call you Nitin bhai. So you can call him Nitin bhai. Yeah,
Nitin
that
bhai
sounds
will be
good.
much better. Like Shyamji does. That will be much better. See, G adds another 10 years to my age, and it is completely undeserving of, when you say that. Anyways, but I appreciate your sentiments and thank you for the constant encouragement that you give. So thank you so much for that.
We have a few announcements. Can I make the announcements first? Then we can go ahead with the.
Let's make the announcements and then we can continue.
The only announcements we have right now is the Dallas retreat happening this weekend, September 3rd, September 5th. We have the pranayams, meditations, and the lectures by Swamiji. So please, people who are around Dallas, Texas, because I believe this is the last one of the few sessions we are having from Swamiji.
Right.
And then after we'll be traveling to India. So we will be honored for next 6 months. We'll have our time with Swamiji. So this is the last, I guess, of the retreats with Swamiji in US. So please make full use of it. You can have it offline, online. I believe it.
Online, I would encourage everybody, at least from this session, please do enroll for online. It will be wonderful. And we are going to have some interesting interactive segments for online participants as well. So I look forward to seeing you during the retreat time as well. So please do sign up if you haven't already. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Tuning into chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. Swamiji is going to pick up that chapter. So I would strongly encourage each one of you to register for it if not already.
That's the main announcement. And also I have posted the feedback tracker. Please fill in your comments, feedbacks, concerns.
Yes.
Nitin bhai always takes extra care and he always addresses the issues. And also I have posted the WhatsApp group link, the community portal link, and the Bhagavad Gita sessions which are recorded are on the YouTube channel. So please feel free and join the sessions and have a look at the YouTube videos. Anything else, Bhai? I'm missing something?
I would like you to really participate on the portal as well. What we discuss, it's a good platform that we have to exchange thoughts, ideas, and reflections around what we discussed during the sessions. So I would encourage that. If you want to volunteer for that, take a lead to take questions. Samji is saying, yes, I will. So thank you, Samji, for that. And create a buzz around some of those topics, and all of you can contribute. Padmaji writes so many good write-ups on the session. So I would encourage all of you to participate, contribute, so that we have an enriching library created there for whatever we are discussing here. So do take a look at the portal and create threads, have a discussion forum there. It's a good way to continue the learnings that we have and have that exchange of ideas going as well. All right, few hands.
Sandaji says Nitin is name palindromic. He is the same forward, backward, and teacher student Nitinji express themselves so effectively, so perfectly. Nitinji is standing to his name. You call me Nitinji, Nitin Bhai, Guruji, whatever, I am the same.
Yeah, my name is a palindrome. Okay, that's an interesting fact. So I used to ask this riddle when I was in school. Panch akshar ka mera naam ulta seedha ek saman. Nobody would get it. So
yeah, true that. Yeah, we have few hands raised. Surendraji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji. May I just say, हे प्रभु क्या कहूँ, दीनानाथ दयाल, मैं तो दोष अनंत का चाहूं अब कल्याण, शुद्ध भाव मुझ में नहीं सर्व तुझ रूप, नहीं लघुता या दीनता, क्या कहूँ परम स्वरूप. It is a long, about 20 such pad. So for today, I think that should be enough. It's Hey Prabhu, kya kahun. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much for that. Okay, a couple of other hands. And by the way, you need to fill in your attendance tracker to express your interest to sing or chant or recite. That will help us plan better. Swati ji is the only person who did that yesterday. Nobody else did. So hopefully you can put it in as well. But if you want to do that impromptu, you're welcome to do that today. Yes, a couple of hands are raised.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Nitin ji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Nitin. Nitin ji from Maharashtra, Mumbai.
Acha, hi, sorry. I was driving, so my attention was somewhere. Yeah, I just want to say कि जैसे माँ को पता चलता है ना बच्चों को क्या चाहिए, वैसे एक्चुअली वो ऑन द सर ही है, तो मुझे वो अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. बट जो हमारे टीचर है जो हमें हमें सिखाते हैं, तो उनको देखकर भाव पता चल जाता है. वॉट एवर ही वांट्स टू कन्वे इफ वी जस्ट लुक एट हिज एंड वी meditate, not even meditate, we just look at him and put a dhyan, we get all the answers. So it is not necessary language and all is the bar. It is only that the emotions and the bhav which sir is carrying that gives all of us the answers of all the questions that we have. I only request everybody that we only put our focus at sir only, and whatever he teaches and these all heavy words are really very heavy even for me also. I don't look at the terminology, I only look at the sar, what sir wants to convey. And if we have a sar, and if we only follow what sir is doing, the way in which he's doing Guru Karya, if we do in the same way, and if we always get joined to his work, ultimately I think, according to me, the soul also get purified, and you always get attached to such persons only who will, give us such inspiration. Because sir is doing a yajna with a jnani yajna, and there he is sacrificing his whole time for all of us, and by which only we are all getting purified. So my request is to me also that I listen sir carefully and get all the knowledge what he has, and may always thankful to sir's family, and sir gets everything whatever he wished to have in his life, and he always have a Guru Krupa from his Guru. Dhanyavad. And sorry I came again because I couldn't stop myself. Okay, thank you very much.
You are very sweet, Nitinji. Thank you. The Guru Kripa part of it, I do that. Yeah, we all need that wishes, and we should pray for each other, because what we are doing or what we have undertaken is something very auspicious and special. So we should really feel good about it, and it will only get better with time. That much I can tell you. And Nitinji, I think I have reached my quota of getting embarrassed today, but I'm learning to handle it now. But thank you for your kind and warm words always. All right. Thank you so much. Let's see a couple of hands, and then we can probably
Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe.
ending as well.
Ashutosh ji, can you hear me?
Radhe Radhe, Ashutosh ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Can I say a few lines? Means sing like that.
Yes, please. It will be our honor. Please go ahead.
हो कान्हा मेरे तेरे दर पे रहूं, तुन आंख से एक पल ओझल हो, मैं दूर रहूं वृंदावन से, जीवन में कभी ना वो पल हो. ओ राधे मेरी मेरी महारानी, हर वेद की तुम ही कहानी हो, है प्रेम जगत का सार तुम, उस प्रेम की अमिट निशानी हो. तुम आदि पुरुष तुम अंत में हो, हर पापी में हर संत में हो, तुम धरती में तुम व्योम में हो, आकाश के हर एक रोम में हो. आखिर की जब सांस में लूं, हे गोविंद तेरे नाम से लूं, इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू. इन लताओं सा लहराऊं, जमुना मैया सा बह जाऊं, इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू. इस रज में मैं खो जाऊं, इस ब्रज का ही हो जाऊं, इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू. कान्हा मेरे तेरे दर पे रहूं, तुम आंख से एक पल ओझल हो, मैं दूर रहूं वृंदावन से, जीवन में कभी ना वो पल हो. राधे राधे.
Very nice, Ashutosh. I think this is a Bollywood song, right?
Yes,
Tune
this
is
is like
Bollywood.
in Kesari, some song is there and based on
Yes.
that.
And did you write the script as yours? Did you modify?
No, I find it on Twitter.
It was beautiful. Thank you so much. Very melodious and a lot of bhav, flowing bhav in it. Loved it. Thank you so much, Ashutosh ji. Always a pleasure to hear you. Thank you so much. Yes,
Padma ji, yeah, please go with Radhe Radhe.
There were some thoughts, and then if you're doing the singing session, I would do today's Vinayak Chauthi, so I would just do a few lines of Vinayak Chauthi if that's the session. What I wanted to say was all the knowledge and best wishes to Nitinji, and let God and Guru continue to be that facilitator that is your prescription and your purpose in life. Wanted to say a few other things just based on the session that we had. The knowledge that we acquire and the emotions that we express in the sessions or outside of the sessions, and whenever we think about Nitinji or Guru or God for that matter, that would help us like detach ourselves from that ego and attach ourselves to that soul, and that constant connection will be there, but sometimes you might feel like you're detached from it, and that's that. But we shouldn't get disappointed when we feel like that detachment is there, because that connection, once it's made, it will be there. And the witness is God. Even though our mind cannot witness that connection to the level that we really want to, but God witnesses that connection that we have on him, and his vision is not dependent on our ignorance. Our ignorance is our ignorance, but his vision is always on us. He's present and seated within us, and that connection, once you make it, you have it. And when you reflect upon that connection, you have to consciously, intentionally reflect upon that connection as a servant that you want to serve. And that will bring about the beauty within the soul and more connections with your soul. That's something that you can experience. So when you're in that moment of questioning or not sure, you just have to trust you and believe that his vision, God's vision on you, is constantly there, beyond our own ignorance and our mind and our own interpretation. So that gives you the strength and the conviction and the faith that we constantly need, so that we keep that connection with God and Guru wherever we are physically. Just wanted to say that.
true. Yeah. Actually, they say that this connection with Guru, it sweetens and deepens over time, and it is not bound by physical boundaries alone as we progress in this journey. And then God is resided within us, right? So the only two things that we have control over is our own intention and the sincerity. If we do that, then God and Guru are waiting to open up their arms for us, and take us through deeper and deeper realizations, like you spoke about, Padmaji. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
So should I do Ganesha's few lines, Mudakara, or should I wait?
Sure. I think Shiramedi, did you have a question? And then we can come back to you for the recitation if anybody else wants to sing a couple of lines as well before we wrap up.
Shirame,
Shirame, you
please
have
go
a
ahead.
question?
No, I wanted to sing, so after Padmaji, I can take up.
Okay, sure, Padmaji. Go ahead and then we can have Shirame.
This is Vinayaka's. It's just description of all his futures and the importance of it. It's in Telugu, but we can all connect with the emotion.
Sure.
Mudakaradimodakam sada vimukti sadakam kaladharavatam sakam nilasilokarakshakam मुदाकरादिमोदकं सदा विमुक्तिसाधकं कलाधरावतंसकं विलाशिरोगरक्षकम् अनायकैकनायकं विनाशितेव दैत्यकं नताशुभाशुनाशकं नमामि तं विनायकम् नमामि तं विनायकं नमामि तं विनायकम् न तेतरातिभीकरं न वोति तर्कभास्वरं न मत्सुरारिनिर्जनं न तातिकापदुद्धरम् न तेतरातिभीकरं न वोति तर्कभास्वरं न मत्सुरारिनिर्जनं न तातिकापदुद्धरम् सुरेश्वरं निधीश्वरं गजेश्वरं गणेश्वरम् सुरेश्वरं निधीश्वरं गजेश्वरं गणेश्वरम् महेश्वरं तमाश्रये परात्तमं निरन्तरम् परात्परं निरन्तरं परात्परं निरन्तरम् समस्तलोकशङ्करं निरस्तदैत्यकुञ्जरं दरेदरोदरं वरं वरे भवक्रमक्षरम् समस्तलोकशङ्करं निरस्तदैत्यकुञ्जरं दरेदरोदरं वरं वरे भवक्रमक्षरम् कृपाकरं क्षमाकरं मुदाकरं यशस्करम् कृपाकरं क्षमाकरं मुदाकरं यशस्करं मनस्करोमि नमस्कृतं नमस्करोमि भास्वरम् नमस्करोमि भास्वरं नमस्करोमि भास्वरं नमस्करोमि भास्वरं नमस्करोमि भास्वरम्.
Thank you. Very nice, Padmaji. On the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi, a beautiful bhajan. So thank you so much for that. By the way, Ganeshji was the one who was chosen by Vedvyas. So when Vedvyas was going to write Mahabharata, he said, I need somebody really competent, and Ganeshji was the one who fit that criteria. However, Ganeshji put a condition. He said, I will write only on one condition, that you will keep on reciting and you don't stop. Okay, you will keep on doing and I'll keep on writing. And Vedvyas also put a condition. He said, all right, if that is the thing, I'll also put a condition. You will write, but you will write only after understanding it. So Vedvyas would recite and Ganesha would keep on writing. That was the intellect or acumen of Ganesha. So the moment the word would come out of Vedvyas, you'll immediately understand and write it down. And then Vedvyas said, what if I have to take a break in between, right? For daily ablutions and stuff, if I have to go to restroom, what do? Then he put some Kut shlokas, which even Ganesh had to think. So there are some hundreds of Kut shlokas in our scriptures, in Mahabharata, basically, that Vedvyas put just so that Ganesh had to exert himself and he could take a little bit of a break. So I thought it was an interesting trivia on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi. Okay, 2 more hands there. Let's do that. And then it's a wonderful session again. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, but let's have a couple of other chantings as well.
Yeah, Urviji has a message for all of us. She says, this session and all the participants are lovely. Thank you so much for all the inspire. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi, and Nitin sir is great. Nitin sir is great. We all know that.
I'm not great. I'm made to look more than what I'm in specifically in this session. So, but yeah, thank you. If you stay inspired, you can. Which one?
जैसी रही भावना जिस तैसी वैसी मूर्त दिखी वैसी we all are the same word, we all see in the same way, so that's the only difference we have.
That's your love and affection. And if you stay inspired, you can call me whatever you want. The condition is stay inspired, okay, and keep coming to the sessions.
And also, please put cameras on. One more thing.
Yes.
Whenever you talk to Tin Bhai, please cameras on. He will feel great and blessed. He can connect with you much better way.
Yeah. If you care to bless me, please turn on your cameras.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, Shri Ramya, please go
Shri
ahead.
Ramya ji, please go ahead.
Shri Ramya has turned on the camera. Good to see you, Shri Ramya. Go ahead, please.
I wanted to sing 2 stanzas of
Sure. Go ahead.
I don't know the lyrics, so I'll have to look at my laptop.
If you tell me, I can project the lyrics for you. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, please.
Have it on screen, just make it fast.
Okay.
Yes. Jayati Teti Sam Janmana Jayata Indira Shastadatrahi Daikadrishyatam Dikshutavakat Vaikritasavad Swam Vikinvate Sharadudasaye Sadhu Jasatar Sarasitodara Vimutakrisha Suratanatate Shulkadasika Varadadiknato Neha Kimbada. Thank you. 2 stanzas.
Beautiful, Shri Ramya. Thank you so much. It's from the Gopi Geet, right? So Swamiji beautifully sings even the Radha Govind in that tune. I'll just take 2 lines. He says like this: Radhe Govind Radhe, Radhe Govind Radhe, Radhe Govind Radhe. So in the Gopi Geet lay, he sings it and it's so beautiful. So I just wanted to say 2 lines. Yes, Sandhya. Last but not the least.
Sandhya ji, please go ahead.
Okay, Radhe, this is something I heard from Swamiji during LTP. This is, I'll just sing 2 lines. This is more like chanting, so okay. Bhaj man meri aathu yaam, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Bhaj man meri aathu yaam, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram Jai Jai Siya Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Very nice, Sandhya. Bhaj man mere aathon yaam, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. You're reminded of that session with Swamiji. So very nice. Thank you so much for that. All right, Swatiji, yes, you had promised you will sing today. So over to you now. We'll have the last one.
Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all.
Happy Ganesh Chaturthi.
I wanted to, today instead of singing, I'll tell some small story of Ganpati because it's Ganesh Chaturthi.
Sure.
So it's too short only. Like he got the name Ekadanta. So what happened that Parshuram, when he was coming to meet Shivji, instead of letting him meet, Ganpati came in between and said, no, I will not let you go because he's having his sadhana. You cannot disturb him. Then Parshuram said, no, I have some urgent work. I have to meet him immediately. But he was still insisting, no, I will not let you go. And then there had some argument. Then Parshuram had that instrument, his Parshu, and then he hit them, and then it went on his teeth, and one of his teeth got broken. And then the noise of that bleeding started coming, and then Parvati came, then Shivji came, and they all like started seeing what happened and all that. And then they said, no, this has been broken, it cannot be fit again. So instead of fitting that, we will give him another name, that is Ekdanta. So he has 1 teeth. He got that name. Thank you, Radhe.
Thank you, Swatiji. Yes, Ekdanta. There's a shloka on that as well. Thank you for sharing that. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all of you. And we can do our closing prayers. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So tomorrow what we will do is, because it's important to just have a quick recap because we are in the recap mode. We are going to go through the Arjun Vishad Yoga, a quick summary of chapter 1, the key highlights around that. And then we'll do it for a quick summary of chapter 2, and we will bring us to the point where we are right now, so that we have a bit of a mental map going into what we are doing. Okay. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Let's do our closing prayers. Is there anybody who wants to take lead on that?
Not yet. Ashutosh ji, yes. Ashutosh ji, please
Ashutosh.
go ahead. And Sam ji also, so we can have both of them.
All right, both of you can go. Samji, you'll be a little quicker, I know, but let's give it a shot. Go ahead.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhav
Bhavet.
Om
Shanti,
Shanti
Shanti.
Thank you. Good job, Samji. Patience is a virtue you really practiced. So thank you very much for that. Have a wonderful day. Great rest of your evening. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.